why do we have to always get to that point, when something really bad happens, supposedly, then we come up and say, oh my God, this is bad. Let's try and win all over again. Are we stuck in our old ways? Are we getting scientific? And is our Nigerian football, like you mentioned earlier, doing as much as we should be doing?
I think we are, because when you look in aggregate, when you put the aggregation together, you would agree that we're still at the top echelon of African football.
Right.
And we just participated in the World Cup. And if the results are the performance indicators with which you determine these things, you would agree that we played at the World Cup. And of course, our girls have played at the World Cup, our boys have won the World Cup. So we're also up there doing the things we need to do scientifically, but we can do more.
Right.
But in saying that we wake up to our responsibilities when we fail, to me that is really a no-brainer, because the truth is, it is the ability for you to bring yourself up from a failed project that makes you a man or a woman.
Always.
So, I mean, failure is good at times.
Okay, Bella, let me ask you, in terms of where we are now, some people will say we could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
But we are where we are now. Absolutely. How do you expect Keshi to line up his boys for this kind of game today, knowing that it's a crucial match?
Yeah.
It's a life-saving match.
Absolutely.
And you fail, you die, pretty much.
Absolutely. I think that for me, one of the most pleasant part of this game is that Vincent Enema is back. Because quite honestly, I think that in goal, we don't have anything close to him. I wouldn't go so far to blame the other goalkeepers or the other goalkeeper for the game in Calabar. But I think that Enema just oozes confidence that a lot of the other guys at the back who are just building experience, can learn from, so to speak. He organizes his defense very well. And he's got a big reputation. And so opposing strikers know about him. And sometimes those kind of things affect the way and manner they make their decisions, when they face the goalkeeper. So I think that's really, really huge. I think also that getting Onazi back from injury is also very crucial in a game like this. And I feel as well that if people like Emenike, people like Mikel Obi, I think as well, Obabona at the back, if they bring their A game to the table, I think we do have a good chance. Because yes, it's all been said about how there are no more minors in African football. And I accept, to an extent. But you look at Sudan's results, and you've got to say that if we don't beat them, then I don't think it's about minors. It's about us just not doing enough. Because South Africa beat them 3-0. In Sudan. I mean, if South Africa can beat them 3-0 in Sudan, and we absolutely have to win, and somehow we cannot conjure a win, then really we don't deserve to go to the Nations Cup. So I think as well that given the results that we've had, we're going to have had a better set of games, or set of games to come, because we play Sudan now, and they'll have them to come back to Nigeria. And luckily for us, the front runners in the group, Congo and South Africa, will play themselves over the next 2 games. And that gives us room to catch up before we play our last 2 games against them. Also bearing in mind that if Sudan's form continues, these guys will play Sudan once again. That makes it absolutely imperative that we beat Sudan and get them out of the road, and know that what we've got to do is make sure that we beat South Africa when they come to Nigeria, and go to Congo and go through as one of the 2 teams in the group. So I think, yes, we haven't started well, but everything is still within the realms of being salvaged. And Keshi and the boys have shown us time and again that sometimes when their backs have been turned to the wall, they usually bounce back. I don't expect any less from them. I may be worried though that he has invited a lot of young boys, for a game like this. But then again, I imagine that he will start with those guys who have played for him, the Ahmed Musa, the Emenikes, the Mikel Obi, the Onazis. We've got Michael Babatunde back as well from injury.
Not playing today.
Well, we'll see.
Injured.
Well, he's injured. Yes. But he's in camp as well. So, like I said, all around, everybody, we understand what's on the table. You've got to win this game, then win, not just this game, they play us again on Wednesday, win that game as well. We'll be on 7 points by the time we play our next 2 set of games, which will come up in November. Okay. But if we lose this game, we're in big trouble.
Let me ask George, if you look back at the Congo match, what was the missing link? And you now look at this game, do we have it all fixed, or are we near being able to fix it to make sure that we don't replicate that?
Well, the missing link in the Congo game was very, very clear. We were very complacent at home, no doubt about that. The boys just did not rise to the occasion. They did not work hard for it. So the issue of blaming the pitch is neither here nor there, because this was
on the pitch.
Exactly, and this is the same pitch where you'll be playing and winning. So we were just complacent, coupled with the fact that the crisis in Nigerian football affected that game. Because come to look at it, our house was not in order. Truth be told, the preparations into that game was very, very shoddy. There was no FA in place to do a few things, because football, it doesn't just start and end with that 90 minutes on the pitch. So many other things go into it. So we were not prepared for that game on and off the pitch. No doubt about that. But now that we have been able to resolve our crisis, talking about football, we have a new board in place. I think this is an opportunity for Pinnick Amaju to start on a good note, because the new board, it will really not be good for them if this is their first game and they lose. But good thing, the house is in order now. You can see that even Pinnick decided that the first vice chairman, Kim Wumi, should be the leader of delegation. He was not even there himself. That shows you that he is not a football president that is travel crazy, because the next thing he would have done is to jump into the next plane and be in Sudan. But he has delegated his first vice chairman to be there. And for me, it's a good beginning. And I think the boys will now rise to the occasion, because ordinarily it is not beyond the Eagles to beat Sudan in Khartoum out there. It is just the attitude, the approach to this game, the psychological frame of mind. And I think the Eagles are right now in the right psychological frame of mind. They've discovered that we have our back and we need to fight back, because Nigeria is the giant of Africa, actually. And for us not to be, especially now that we're the defending champions, for us not to be in Morocco. I mean,
we will not be the first to be defending champion that ended up
not making it.
But the Nations Cup,
Yes.
the Nations Cup should be our birthright.
Let me ask Bukola anyway. George alluded to something that was quite apt, and I was thinking, in terms of the right frame of mind, some people would say, yeah, we're now in the right frame of mind because we now have Maju Pinnick there and all that. But to a large extent, we still have the noose hanging around the neck of Keshi. When you have that kind of situation where your coach hasn't got contract, where he doesn't know whether he's going to continue to work as the coach or not, where he knows this could possibly be his last match if things go wrong, that puts you under the kind of pressure that means it leaves you open to all kind of errors and wrong judgment. What's your thought?
You see, when we posit such arguments, we are making life a little bit easier for Keshi. For me, the FA was still in disarray when the girls got to the finals in Canada. It was never an excuse. Keshi got the first half of that match totally wrong, for reasons best known to him. But look at what he did in the second half. He introduced 3 quality players, and all the 3 players impacted positively. One of them actually scored the second goal, Bala Salami, who dug in to get that second goal. Most of the foreign-based players, I'm sorry to mention names, Odu Omadi, for me, and so many analysts and so many keen football watchers, the 2 of us went to Rwanda together. The 2 of us have been to so many international matches to watch the Super Eagles. These are guys who are called to the party on a regular basis and who have not shown one day that they can be part of the party. So for me, we are creating an easier excuse or way out for Keshi. However, if Keshi does not have a contract, Keshi is my very good friend. He is partly to be blamed for that. That, for me, should even give him the impetus to show to the administrators that, look, I deserve and I'm worth the 10 million I'm asking for. Win the matches, beat Sudan, home and away, qualify us for Morocco, and see if Claudia Clinton will not be on air shouting at Amaju Pinnick to pay him 10 million. Fail against Sudan, I wonder if Tony Ibitoye and the crew will not spend 5 days next week taking Keshi out. That is just the plain easy reality of the job he has chosen to take. Is fire, hire and fire. You do well, you get a new contract, a better contract from what you had. You don't do well globally, you get fired. His counterpart in Ghana has been fired. I'm not an advocate of sacking Keshi. I'm an advocate of actually creating more heroic attributes from Keshi. I want him to be seen as a huge Nigerian hero, as a domesticated coach who has come to help his country out of patriotism.
Okay,
but he has to do the job to help himself.
It's interesting you said that, but let me ask you, Biola, when you put somebody under intense amount of pressure and you expect them to deliver, where in the world, in all your experience of watching world football, would you find a situation where a coach hasn't got a contract and yet the extremely patriotic citizen of that country